a lot of comedy coaches try to teach jokes, writing jokes. But if you look at the best comics in history, yeah, they have jokes, some of them. But what's the most impactful and the most legendary thing about them is them. it's
Mm.
not it's not their jokes. You're not gonna go
Mm.
to a comedy club and go, oh, his jokes. You're gonna go, remember that girl or that guy? Like they were they're funny. I don't remember anything they said, but they're funny. You know what I mean? It's a people remember how you make them feel. You know.
Welcome to Applied Speaking, the podcast where I interview speaking experts from all directions and let them life coach me on the episodes. This week we have a stand up comedian, Larry Dorsey. Larry has been in this field for over 10 years and truly knows the ins and outs of being funny. We talk about the science of laughter and what it takes to develop a sense of humor, and why it matters to learn not to be offended. Enjoy the episode! Sorry. Oh man. Hey Larry, welcome to the show.
Good morning and good night.
Nice. We had a little time mix up, so it's 7 a.m. in the morning for me now on February the 17th and February the 16th for Larry, 10 a.m. in the evening, 10 p.m. in the evening. Larry, can you tell us a bit how you ended up in stand-up comedy?
Cool. Yes. My name is Larry Dorsey Jr., and the name is the same as the social media handle. I got some news you can use right quick, so let me tell you something. I'm born and raised in San Francisco. I've always been the class clown, and consequently, I've always been in trouble. In a lot of my classes, I would have to sit in the back facing the wall. Luckily, I had great test scores, so that like balanced. I was smart, so it balanced my disruptiveness. It brought it to equilibrium, and so teachers were like, "He's clever, but he's like always cracking jokes." And so I remember in elementary, some of the kids who were like melancholy or sad or like outcasts, sometimes they wouldn't laugh at my jokes, and so I would be like, everybody's laughing except these people. I want to make them laugh. And I wasn't a bully. I wasn't bullying them. I was like actually trying to make them laugh and befriend them. And I've always been interested in people who are different. You know what I mean? Not different like how everybody wants to be popular and cool and stand out, but different like they go a totally like they're not even in that world, you know? And
Mm.
so I found out that was the first way of me trying to make people laugh. You know, the ones who were the outcasts who didn't laugh that much in class. I'm like, I want to make them laugh. And then I got in some trouble in high school, and when I came back to San Francisco, I was walking down the street one day, and my neighbor pulls up and he says, "Hop in the car. I'll give you a ride to the subway station." I was like, "All right." I get in the car. He goes, "What are you going to school for?" I said, "I'm going to school for film, but I really want to be a comedian." You know, and he goes, "That's interesting." His son was in the seat. He goes, "My son, he's the box office guy at the Punchline." And the Punchline is like the biggest comedy club, like one of the top 10 in the world. And I didn't even know what it was though. I was just like, okay, well, cool. And and they're like, someone's like, yeah, I'll get you in for free. His name's Amin. I'll never, so grateful. And I was like, okay. And I started getting to watch all like these big name comedians, and I'd always be the youngest person. I was 18. I'd have the X's on my hand, and I'd be in the back, like all scared and shit. And it was like, it was crazy. I got to be around all these comedians and listen to stand up comedy. And then after 2 years of doing that, I got hired, and I worked at the comedy club as a security guard for 2 years. And then I got fired. Long story. and and at that moment, I was never hit the stage because I was too nervous. And I finally said, you know what? I need to start performing. And so I went to the stand up comedy college and did like a 6 week course. I did it at location of the San Jose Improv, which is another big comedy club. And I started performing from then on out. And it's been it's been almost 10 years. But I've been in the community for over 12 years.
All right. Okay. So, and What does your day or week look like right now? Do you give a lot of performances? I figure it's a lot on Zoom right now, so
Actually, yeah, no. I haven't performed in a very, very long
oh
time.
man, that's too bad.
Yeah. I just told myself, I have so many projects that are unfinished and so many things I've been working on. And COVID for me, my heart goes out to everybody, but for me it was a blessing and it gave me the opportunity to try to like finish everything up before stand up comes back, before the world opens up again.
Hmm.
So I just told myself I'm taking 100% break and just focusing on everything else that I wanted to accomplish, and then I'm gonna come back full force. And I plan on moving to New York from San Francisco, and just doing as many shows. You could do like 14 performances a day in New York. So
Oh,
I'm going out there.
what? In
Yeah,
different studios or?
yeah.
Okay, okay, man. And do you are you thinking right now of some topics you're going to do the stand-up comedy about, or how does that work?
So I got this advice from Robin Williams before he died. I got to
Hmm.
smoke weed with him and have a great conversation. A lot of comedians I got to do that with, and he
Hmm.
told me to write everything down. So I'm kind of like a natural comedian, like I'm naturally energized, right? So funny things pop into my head or situations happen to me all the time with my on adventures and stuff. So I'm just always writing, but I don't have any specific topics or things that I'm excited to do or I've been looking forward to do. I literally have just like removed the thought of stand up comedy. Sometimes I get the itch where I'm like, "Ooh, I want to get on stage," but for the most part, I just write the funny thing down and just leave it, and forget about it.
Hmm. Okay, so the on stage you do more of an improvisation.
Um, Only on open mics.
Okay, okay.
On open mics, I don't do material for the most part. I'll do some new things that I want to just see how it flows. I'll improvise. But on
Yeah.
actual shows, like big shows, I'll do my rehearsed material and when the time warrants, I will improvise in between.
Yeah, okay, okay. All right. When was the last show you gave?
Technically during COVID, right? And I did a couple Zoom shows, but I
Hmm.
don't count those, right? I don't like the actual last show I did was funny because it was a show for Irish people. It was like
Hmm.
Irish whatever. And I went to the show because the booker owed me money.
Hmm.
Not like in a bad way. I was like, just come pick up your money. And I went to go get my money. And they were like, hey, it's a kind of a good show. We have room for another comedian. Do you want to do it? And I'm like, I'm not Irish though, right? And he was like, you can do it if you want. I was like, all right. And I was like, yeah, my name is actually Irish, right? It comes from slavery. And I was like,
Hmm.
I may be Irish because I have my plantation owner during slavery was Irish. And the audience was like, oh my gosh. But they were laughing so hard, like it was a great show. It was a I'm happy and I'm blessed that my last show was that good. I ended
Yeah,
on a
yeah,
high
yeah.
note and I left and I felt great. And it was
Awesome.
improvised
Nice.
because I wasn't ready. It was like I had to do all Irish. I was thinking of everything I could think of. I was just like, fuck Irish, Ireland, I don't know. So it was fun.
Nice. Did you also have a lot of? I figure you also had a lot of shows that didn't went so well as as this one.
Yes. And that's how you know you're a real comedian. In the beginning
Hmm.
of when I first was, getting my feet wet into comedy, I was like, yeah, I never had a bad show. I always do good. I'm funny as hell. I'm not see the
Yeah.
difference between me and other comedians is I've always been funny. And then the when you really become a comedian is when you start doing shows all the time. And if you do something
Hmm.
all the time, you're gonna fail. And a
Hmm.
lot of times you're gonna fail really bad. So, yes, I have had horrible shows. I've had shows where I'm like, I never questioned quitting. I never thought about quitting, but I've had shows where I lay in bed and go, what the fuck was it? So Yeah, and
Nice.
I'm a charismatic person, so I'm the kind of person who's always trying to be funny, and so there's many moments where I try to, and everybody's just like, and I'm like, oh shit, that not funny. Okay, I gave it a shot, you know.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
How do you normally practice for these shows? Are you just performing them and writing them out, or just at first improvising about topics and doing them for small stages?
No, no. See, I have a different philosophy on how I do it than most. Most comedians do the same thing over and over and over. Me, like I said, I believe so I do a bunch of open mics, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
believe that there's a sense of humor, kind of like a sense of like the sixth senses, right? Some people have the movie The Sixth Sense, you can see ghosts and shit, right? There's a sense of humor and you have to harness it and be around it. It's like an energy. And so what I do when I get on stage is I improvise. And the reason I do that is because it's developing my sense of humor. So I went to acting school
Mm.
called and I went to this school called the Meisner Technique Studio, right? And they taught me when I'm breaking down a script for my character to memorize the lines with no emotion by rote. I love you. I am going to kill myself if you do not love me. Right? And in the actual moment, when you're doing the scene, you'll have the lines memorized and you can naturally respond emotionally without preconceived emotions. Because what if the person, I'm saying, I love you, I'll kill myself. But what if the person's like not giving me that emotion back? And when I do
Mm-hmm.
that, it's not authentic. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so for me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be improvising, be funny, master the energy of funny on stage at open mics. So when I get to an actual show, I have the energy of funny already with me. I take the energy of
Yeah.
funny with me, and then my actual material just lands on it and floats with it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can also, I think, better deal with the interaction of the audience and yourself.
Exactly. And I'm more in the moment. I'm present. I'm actually dealing with what's happening right now rather than doing a rehearsed thing over and over and over and over and over. And oh, the audience is not. It's like, no, it doesn't matter what kind of audience, where it's at, whatever. I'm bringing my sense of humor and
Mm-hmm.
I'm manipulating my jokes to fit with the flow of of whatever's happening in the room.
Yeah, you told me on our previous call that there are also some stand-up comedians that are like super serious in normal life, but when they're on stage, they're super funny and they're just telling their jokes and they're fucking
Yeah.
good. But for you, that's not really the case, right? You can also, I think, if you train your sense of funny, you can also be more funny in regular life by this.
Yeah, yeah. I'm one of the comedians who's funny in regular life, and I'm trying to learn how to bring that funny on the stage more, right?
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and it happens so much, man. There's so many people who are like, "You're so funny, you should be a comedian," but they never do it.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, the comedians are the people who are never funny, but always were like really, I would love to be a comedian. You know what I mean? And so but the people who are funny in real life, they turn out to be the Kevin Harts and the Will Ferrells and the Dave Chappelle's, like the people who become big because they have both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, how do you approach training this skill with people?
How do I approach teaching it?
Yeah, or teaching it yourself, so learning it yourself.
Learning it myself is different than how I teach it. So myself, I believe in epistemology. You know what
Hmm.
epistemology is?
Well, explain it to me. I figure
It's
it's how you learn it, right? Or
kind of, yeah. It's like the theory
yeah,
of our understanding of knowing,
yeah.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of ways to know something, right? And so for me, I believe in trying to attack everything that I'm interested in or that I want to speak on with an idea of of knowing it from as many possible ways. I speak to the experts. I read the books. I watch the documentaries. I do my independent research. I go to school for it. I have my life experience. Like, I'm trying to do all of it, and I do it super intense. So I've seen every documentary. I've read a lot of the books. I haven't read all the books, but I've read so many books on humor, did so much online research, talked to every comedian you can imagine. And I just, like, I'm like obsessed with it because I'm like, I don't want any excuses to why I fail. I don't want to look back in life and have regrets like, I should have did this, I should have did that, I should have, I'm like, no. I did everything I could. If I fail, I fail. I fail a lot, but I'm learning. You know what I mean? So that's how I teach myself. But I'm an obsessive kind of person, so I don't know if other people are gonna do the same shit as me. But with my students, what I teach them is that it's kind of like I also teach hip hop, right, and rap, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times they're white people, they're older, they're in their 40s or whatever. They're like what they come from a different world. So when they come to hip hop, they have like this stereotype: a hip, a hop, a hit, a goo, and I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't have to rap like that. You are perfectly fine the way you are and being authentic to who you are. You could say, I wake up in the morning and I get my coffee. Like, that's perfect. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go, and yo, I wake up in the morning and get. No, you don't have to do that. Hi, my name is Todd. I am kind of odd. You can do whatever you want to do. My name is Pim. This morning after this meeting, I am going to the gym. Like, as simple as that. Like, you don't have to put on a facade. You don't have to like do all types of theatrics to be who you are. You just have to be you. So with comedy, I tell them the same thing. There's funny within everybody. There's funny. Some
Mm-hmm.
people, it's going to be harder to find, but there's funny within everybody. So you just have to find the funny within you. And there's things that happen in your life that are funny. There's things that you think are odd that you could turn into something funny. You know, a lot of comedy coaches try to teach jokes, writing jokes, but if you look at the best comics in history, yeah, they have jokes, some of them, but what's the most impactful and the most legendary thing about them is them.
Mm.
It's not their jokes. You're not gonna go
Mm.
to a comedy club and go, oh, his jokes. You're gonna go, remember that girl or that guy? Like, they were they're funny. I don't remember anything they said, but they're funny. You know what I mean? It's people remember how you make them feel.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense then to try them, let them be more of themselves so they can get it out.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I
And
break down the science of it too. I kind of break down the understanding of laughter and you know
can you tell us a little bit about it?
about what.
The understanding of laughter.
Yes, I love it. So laughter is benign violation and unexpectedness. It's kind of like them together.
Mm-hmm.
So benign violation. Benign meaning not harmful, right? But like cancer, there's benign tumors, right? It's not cancerous, right? And a violation is, something that's a trespass or something bad, breaking the norm or the standards, right? So it's essentially you doing something that could be bad but isn't bad, and it's unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
That's what creates laughter. If you see someone slip on a banana peel, that's like the classic, right?
Yeah.
But they're okay. You're already laughing, right? But they're okay, you're gonna laugh. If they break their fucking tailbone or their back, you're gonna be like, oh shit, right? That's no longer a benign violation. That's an actual injury. You know what I mean? But it's unexpected because you didn't expect to slip. You
Mm-hmm.
know that they're all right, so it's benign. And it's a violation because the standard and the norm of our reality was just shattered in that moment. So that's where laughter comes from. I read like an article where they said, an example is like a caveman hearing some strange noise, thinking it's a bear or like a lion, and they turn the corner and it's a little bunny rabbit, and they're like, it's we're safe, But that's essentially where laughter and humor comes from, and it's such a deep, like, subconscious thing. Every time you laugh, there's that formula's there, whether
Hmm.
you know it or not. That formula is there.
So, have you also trained yourself now, or unconsciously trained yourself to pick out those moments, those situations you can exploit for making fun of it because it's kind of in the good direction?
Yeah, and also the evil ones too. That's the bad direction too. Comics Mind is always constantly working to
Hmm.
find material, to look at things. Oh wow, that could be funny, even if it's not funny. That I'm gonna write it down regardless.
Hmm.
So yeah, I definitely train my mind to look at that and to see things. And sometimes people think I'm crazy because I'll be laughing, and they're like, what are you laughing at?" And I'm like, you wouldn't understand. Write it down. Yeah. And a lot of
Nice.
times you're never gonna use anything you write down. And sometimes you thought that you couldn't use it, and years later, it turns out to be one of your best jokes.
Hmm.
It's so
So,
interesting.
so when you're preparing a show or thinking about a show, then you're just going through your notes and your stories, or it's because you wrote it down that it's in your head?
I what I do is I rehearse it by
Okay.
myself, and then I audio record it. After I rehearse it, I audio record it, and I listen to it over and over. Kind of like
Mm.
with your music, like you're listening to music. I'm listening to myself
Yeah.
of my rehearsals. hmm And so that's how I get it down. And then I look in the mirror. I practice how I'm gonna do the different the deliveries of the turns, the this, the that. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
do it all, but I do it all to myself. And then when I go to the open mics, I'm just oh, what's your name? Oh, it's Pim. Pim, where are you from? My name's Pimp, and it's just I just try to do anything I could on stage to make me get on stage, and I just like do all types of wild theatrics at the open
Hmm.
mics. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice that you have the power to make people kind of uncomfortable. Like, you're not the one sitting in the front row, but you can now get them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a very unfortunate thing that we're headed towards, because the idea for me, right,
Hmm.
and maybe I have a privilege on this or whatever, but the idea of being uncomfortable or offended, I think, is anti-intellectual. Because I think it was Aristotle who said it is the mark of an intelligent mind to be able to entertain an idea without accepting it. So
Hmm.
people nowadays have the inability to enter to they have the inability. This is deep. This is some deep shit. This is deep shit. They have the inability to have a conversation with people that they don't have the same opinions on. And everybody's getting into an echo chamber with a bunch of people that are similar. And when someone's different because they're so used to similar, it creates a clash. When you should have a constant scientific mind of curiosity, no matter if someone is completely different from you should be able to listen to what they have to say. It's hate speech. That's them. If they're ignorant and they have hate speech, of course, I'm not pro hate speech, but I'm not going to sit here and let my life be emotionally affected because somebody else has something crazy to say. I really don't care. Nobody is going to affect my internal bliss. I'm happy as hell. I'm cheerful. You could talk about my mom. I've heard, trust me, with the way I grew up, I've heard the best insults. So people are not going to insult me any better than my brother can. You could call me the N word, you can insult my race, anything. It's not going to affect me because I don't want other people to have power over my emotions. It's a powerful thing to not let anybody get to you. It's a superpower. because then you're fearless. But nowadays, everybody's afraid. People can't. People can. Are. All, I'm uncomfortable. I'm offended. I'm this. Whoa, you're in a constant negative mood because everything in this world is gonna freaking affect you. Me? Hey, baby, you could throw me in a shark pool and dark meat gonna come back with some shark meat, baby. That's how it's gonna be. I ain't nothing could get under my skin. People ask me, "What are your pet peeves? What are you annoyed?" I have no pet peeves. I'm never annoyed. I'm bliss. Oh, life is great. And yet, some other people might look at my life and go, your life's not great. That's your opinion. That's your choice. I choose happiness over everything. And you could shoot me. You could give me AIDS. You could do whatever you want to me. I choose happiness.
Nice, man.
And maybe I'm a
Awesome.
sociopath. Maybe I'm crazy as hell. But hey, that's just what it is.
No, man, this sounds like a super healthy approach to life, so I think it's better. Do you feel like that's rooted in your approach to stand-up comedy, or did you learn it from stand-up comedy, or is it just something different?
It's a little bit of both. My dad was a martial artist, so he made me meditate since I was like 4 years old, and I think that gave me the ability to kind of like have like a removed, like although there's a storm above the ocean, underneath the water is calm, right? So it gave me that ability to have that bird's eye view at all times, right? Because in martial arts or fighting or any intense situations, you have to remain calm. When you become emotional, your frontal lobe or cortex or whatever, it becomes clouded and it's harder for you to access logic. So it's best not to have that in crisis situations. You have to be, you have to be able to react and act without too much, oh my God. You got to be, okay, I got to make a decision, right? And then also comedy, right? The saddest things could happen, and a comedian's gonna try to make a joke about it. And maybe it's a defense mechanism, I don't know, but we're gonna find funny in everything, the darkest things, Yeah.
Okay. Well, Larry, let's play some of the games we could do to improve my stand-up comedy abilities.
Okay. For sure. The first thing I would like to do before we do that is play some freestyle games. Have you ever rapped before?
Nope, never.
You've never rapped?
I don't think so, no.
You've listened to rap music before though, right?
Yeah, I did. I think, well, now I say this, maybe when I was little, like 6 or 8 years old, I did some rapping, but I don't think I did it after that.
What do you mean? What happened? Tell me what you wrote. You wrote raps?
No. Just I remember some, like, I don't know, some songs I was doing with my neighbor, the kid from the neighbors.
Who are you listening to?
No, yeah, I don't really listen to rap music.
Okay. Have you wrote poetry before?
Not really, actually. I've tried sometime, but it didn't feel like I knew what I was doing, or that I don't think you have to know what you're doing when you're writing poetry. You just have to write it down yourself. That's the whole point of it. But it didn't feel like genuine to me, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so rap, R-A-P, rhythm and poetry. Rap is just poetry with music. That's pretty much what it is. But yeah, we're going to play a game. It's called Roll Call. It's a simple game. It goes like this. I'm going to do it and I'm going to pass it to you, so be ready. Okay. Shabuya, shabuya, roll call. Shabuya, shabuya, roll call. My name is Larry. Yeah, I'm over here. Yeah, and I'm looking at Pim. Yeah, you seem so near. Yeah, shabuya, shabuya, roll call. Shabuya, shabuya, roll call.
Shabuya, shabuya roko. Shabuya roko. My name is Bim, and this is maybe the first time in 20 years that I'm rapping right now. Shabuya,
Shibuya,
shabuya.
Shibuya roll call. Hey, boom, see?
Nice.
Fire. Okay, now we're gonna play a quick rhyme game. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know English is your second language, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, but you're pretty fluent in it though, right?
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna make it simple for you then. I'm gonna say a word, then you rhyme a word with that word, and we'll just go back and forth for as long as we can.
Yeah.
Okay. Pim,
Whim. Does it have
Jim.
to be a real word? Okay, yeah.
Whim's a word. Yeah.
Yeah. Kim.
Slim,
Dim.
Brim,
Sim.
works. Yeah. We said Jim. You said Kim. Lim.
Rim.
Oh, Zim.
Dim.
Did we say dim already?
Yeah, I know it's a Tim with a T.
Oh, you said
But we
Tim.
did say,
Ooh,
yeah.
you're good. See? Oh, my fault. um, let's switch it. Let's do a new word. Okay.
Mhm.
Grace.
Phrase.
Place.
Disgrace.
Ace.
Mace.
Lace.
Lace. We had that one already, I think. Yeah. Face.
um, so I actually started playing that game when I was a kid. And that's how
Mhm.
I got into the rap world with my dad. So this next game is I'm gonna lead you to the end of the rhyme. So I'm gonna point to you when it's your time. Hopefully
Mhm.
you could get it. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. In California, we always have the same weather, but I still like your pink.
Sweater.
Ooh, okay. See, I see what you did right there, and I'm looking at you with your nice wavy.
Hair.
Ooh, hey, check this out. I'm gonna rap for a while. Right now, you look at me and you just
Smile.
see, and that is how I really breach and teach. I look at you, you always brush your.
Teeth.
See, it's not that hard, my man. And you're in Holland next to.
Amsterdam.
See? See, hey, you're not that
Nice.
bad. See, it's not that hard either. It's a fun thing. So how about this? Let's flip it. I
Mhm.
want you to try to lead me to a rhyme.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Larry. So I live in near Amsterdam, but for you it's not 7
11.
a.m.
Oh, it's 7 a.m. Okay. Give me another one. Give me another one. Go.
Yeah. So we screwed up the timings for this podcast a few times, but I figure it was still the best way to.
Rhyme.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know something. Okay, well, I don't have to know something to. I was thinking that I needed to come up with a word, but you need to come up with a word, so I don't need to do it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, one more. Larry, I think I'm glad 30 minutes ago I took my coffee because right now.
You are not coughing.
Yeah. Nice.
Cool. Um, so one of the dopest pieces of advice I got from a comedian is read the news. Always read the news, because if your life might not be exciting and you can't come up with material from your life, the world always has a lot of exciting things. So you could read the news and practice your joke writing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be your first exercise for comedy. But before we do that, I have to explain to you the structure of a joke. So the joke works like this: there's a setup and there's a punchline. There's a premise and then there's a misdirection. So the setup is the premise, the punchline is the misdirection.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you an example. This is one of my jokes. It may not be funny to you. Scientists have recently discovered a way to make human beings live to 200 years of age, which is great news for my cousin who got sentenced to 113 years in prison. That's dark humor. But so the setup was something I read in the news, right? I was like, "Oh wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting." The punchline was me. I'm trying to bring light to mass incarceration, what happens, the history of slavery, black people. So the way I'm doing it is not being so direct with it. For me, this is like my strategy, the way I'm thinking of it. So I bring up the light, like, yeah, there's people getting sentenced to 113 years, right? And boom, so he still has 77 or 87 years of life left after he gets out of prison or whatever, right? But that's how it works. You bring up the setup, then you have the punchline.
Yeah.
You
Okay,
you understand
so
it?
yeah, absolutely. So, like to train, you just scroll through the news and pick some things that interest you, and then you try to write some stuff about it.
Exactly. So right now, what you should do, so we're on the same page. Let's go to Yahoo. Let's both go to Yahoo right now, and we could do it on our phones, right? So we don't
Oh
have to
yeah.
get off camera. Oh, you're off camera.
What? No, I
Yeah,
don't
you're
think
you
so.
you. I don't see you on the camera right now.
Oh, oh well, maybe that's the internet connection, but I think
Oh
it's
yeah,
still
video disabled
still
due to
recording.
internet quality issues. There's okay. Their
Yeah.
video is still recorded. Oh, okay, you're still recording. Okay, so when I
Yeah.
go on Yahoo, the first thing I see is deadly power failure leaves Texans furious.
Yeah. That's what I see.
The first thing I think of is people who are from Texas always think they're the best. So their failure in their power, you know what I mean? But it's about electricity.
Yeah.
But that's the first thing I'm thinking. Like, how could I twist this into something else? Um,
Yeah.
Next thing I see, my boyfriend, who is 9 years my junior, says he doesn't want to move out of my home. Wow, there's so many directions you could go with that.
Yeah.
and so pretty much you're just looking at this. Yes, I'm feeling vulnerable. Anchor is quitting. Okay. Just chill. NFL announcers drank in the booth. Photos show rescue badly. Okay. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick a couple and you're gonna flip them into a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna give you a couple minutes
Yeah.
to take a couple articles and see what you come up with. Now, another way to come up with the punchlines is by making lists. So you make a list of all the assumptions, because there's a misdirection, right? So the premise sets up an assumption that everybody has, right? The
Mm-hmm.
assumption everybody has when I said the humans are going to start living to 200 years of age, they think I'm going into an intellectual direction. They're like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what's he gonna say next? Like, I'm interested. Then I talk about someone going to jail and how they're gonna have a chance of getting more life out when they're free. So the assumption is the scientific direction, right? So you make a list of assumptions people could possibly have. And
Yeah.
then for your punchline, you make a list of ways you could shatter those assumptions. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what you come up with.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll just pick one and then try to think of something.
And pick one that you're passionate about, interested in too. That's very important.
Yeah.
In comedy, it's important to find things that you hate, find things that you don't understand, find things that you love, find things that you're very knowledgeable about. These are things that make you more invested into your material and your joke.
Yeah. Okay. I think I have one.
I'm ready.
Okay. So the article is Elon Musk pledges full support for major Dogecoin holders selling most of their coins. He's going to see to it. He's going to fully support them in never getting on the internet again. Okay, so I thought it might be that same structure because like he's supporting them in selling their Dogecoin, so he's going to financially support them in that they can keep doing whatever they are doing, and he's not supporting them to step out of that world entirely.
For sure. we got some work to do, but great first try.
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. So I'm gonna give you another exercise.
Yeah. All right.
I'm gonna give you two random words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna grab this book. I have a book right here. The Tipping Point. I'm reading it right now. Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna flip through the pages. I'm gonna point at a word. Flip through the
Okay.
pages. Point at another word.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's your job using those two words to come up with a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Yeah.
The word is slender. The first word slender.
Mm-hmm.
The second word is community.
Okay.
So
slender meaning.
Slender is like slim. It's like slim.
Okay. Yeah.
You could have some time to think about it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So the good thing about always finding a community where you're below average is that even when you're fat, you can still look slim.
What? Okay, yeah, for sure. We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, cool. So, one thing about comedy too is the point of it is to have fun. It's literally funny. It's fun, And even
Mm-hmm.
if you don't think you're good, or if your jokes aren't good, or if you're a beginner or whatever, you should have the only thing you should be worried about is having fun. If you go on stage
Mm-hmm.
and nobody laughs, did you have fun? And I tell beginning comedians, I go, this is a craft. Like, being funny off stage is nothing like being funny on stage. Because once you go on stage as a comedian with the intention of making people laugh, the unexpectedness, which is a part of laughter, the surprise, is no longer there.
Mm.
because they know you're there to make them laugh. So now you, as a comedian, the job when you get on stage is to recreate and trick like a magician the unexpectedness. So you could be funny as hell off stage, but on stage, because the unexpectedness factor is no longer there, you're funny. You're like, why is it? Why I'm not? Why am I not funny on stage? Is because it's a skill that you have to build, and just like any skill, they say it takes 10 years. So I tell beginning comedians, I tell them when I'm teaching them, you should have no expectations until you've been doing it for 10 years. Unless you've been doing it for 10 years, if you think you suck, that's just a part of the learning process because you're new. You shouldn't have any other expectations. Yeah, it's a
Do you
skill.
see a lot of people quitting after their first few screw up sessions, or?
I see a lot of people quitting it, not just comedy, everything. People
Yeah,
quit
yeah, yeah.
everything all the time. It's just what
Mm.
it is. So people quit relationships. People quit life. They'll go fucking suicide. People quit. You name it. People are gonna quit. People will quit
Hmm.
eating a meal halfway through. Like, I don't like this. This is nasty. You know. So things. The one thing people don't quit is smoking crack because that shit is addictive. So people don't quit that shit. Unless they go to jail, and then even then they'll still. Okay, that's a long story. But yeah, for the most part, um, it takes time, man. It's just it's a muscle, it's a skill. And for a lot of comedians right now, because we haven't been hitting the stage, Zoom is nothing like real life.
Hmm.
Nothing.
Yeah,
You can't
because you
even
get
hear
none
the
of the
laughter.
interaction.
There's no.
Yeah.
You're just talking to. You might as well fucking be talking to a mirror. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
but hey, comics are so stage thirsty. They don't care what. There's fucking comics performing to a bunch of rats eating a pizza on the floor. The rats, they're loving it. They don't care. They're just trying to get stage time.
What's the? You said you read a lot about comedy to get into it as deep as you could. But what's the best book you read about this?
That's book. That's tough. My library's right there.
Nice.
Um, damn. Those aren't all comedy books. That'd be crazy. There's a bunch of different books. Um, damn.
or just one book that changed how you approach stand-up comedy.
I would say Steve Martin's book Born Standing Up. Even though I'm more of a guy, I like informational books, like books that give me just pure knowledge. I don't really like nonfiction and I mean fiction and narrative and fantasy, all that shit. I like give me the money,
Hmm.
but that book's not so much of a stand-up handbook that breaks down comedy. It's his biography. It's autobiography or whatever. And you know Steve Martin, right?
Well, yeah, I heard of him, but I can't really place him into context right now.
Once I show you his picture, you're gonna automatically be like, "Oh, okay, I know who you're talking about."
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, he talks about his journey through stand up and everything. And yeah, no,
yeah. No, not really, actually.
no,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, he's in a bunch of
Hmm.
movies. He's in a bunch of different
Yeah.
things. But yeah, his book, that book, Born Standing Up, changed my life when it comes to stand up comedy for sure.
Why and how?
Cause he just goes into, cause he was like in it before it was a thing. Like stand up comedy is American, right? It's an American thing, right? And
Hmm.
before it really kind of like took off, he was finding his way through it. And it's kind of beautiful to hear all the stories of how he was like navigating through the earlier times before stand-up comedy became a big thing. Um, and yeah, and he talks about just his process, and he's one of the first comedians to become a fucking superstar, like a rock. He was like a rock star at his prime, right? Before he got into the movies and everything, he was a rock star. And he said it got to a point where he was no longer a comedian; he was more of like a hype man. Because he couldn't really do jokes because the audience was so crazy. He just had to keep them hyped the whole show, and then and that's kind of what happened to Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle, who is now they're saying he's headed to becoming the best comedian of all time. Usually they have Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Robin Williams, things like that. But now the way Dave Chappelle's going, he's going to become the best of all time. And that happened to him. It got to a point where in his shows he couldn't really perform because he was such a superstar. People were yelling shit out, interrupting him the whole time. And that's another important thing about comedy. There's a rhythm to telling jokes. It's like music. That's why the rapping kind of goes with it. There's a flow when you tell a joke, right? And if someone interrupts that flow, it's not gonna. It's the laughter's not gonna be there. It fucks everything up, right? So it's very important for the audience to be engaged while you tell that and finish that joke. It's super important, or it just fucks the whole rhythm up. You can't. It's like I can't even tell a joke because I have to restart it. But now the audience already programmed the unexpectedness in their head. All the assumptions, they're already digging too deep into it, right? It's just it's also a thing where it's when you have to explain a joke, it's not good either, right? They're like it just makes it worse. Like you nobody's laughing, and now you're trying to say, well, this is why I thought it was funny, and they're like, yeah. So that's some shit about comedy. What else was I gonna say? When you're on stage, yeah. So we're talking public speaking, right? So comedy, when you get on stage, there's a lot of rules to how you get on stage. There's a lot of things you gotta follow. One of the first things is you have to remove the mic stand, unless you're gonna speak with the mic stand the whole time. But if not, you have to move it out the way because it's a barrier between you and the audience. You have to move the mic stand out the way. Boom. Now you are a gladiator in front of the audience. Another thing in stand-up is you don't want to talk at them. You want to talk with them. It's a conversation. It's like you and your friends. If you're going to be cracking jokes with your friends, that's how the same energy you should have with the audience. And the interesting thing about the audience is they're in the same emotional state that you're in. So if you start getting nervous on stage, the audience is going to start feeling your nervousness. If you're overconfident and arrogant, they're going to feel your overconfidence and arrogant. There's a sweet spot of humility and being sure and committed to the material that you're going to bring. And if you are failing on stage, there's a couple things you need to do. If you're in the middle and you still have a couple minutes left and it's rough, you could, one, finish strong, finish out your material, nobody's laughing. Two, change what direction you're going in. Three, start interacting with the audience. Or four, take everybody down with you. Say, I'm not going, this ship ain't crashing by itself. We're going dark. and have your pocket jokes that are fucking offensive as fuck and evil as shit. You already failed. You might as well just go out like a fucking soldier and say the most evilest, hurtful, meanest shit that you could think of. With, of course, with a good heart and intentions. It's for people to laugh. You're not, it's not malicious or whatever. And you let it rip. And I've had shows, it's all about honesty and being truthful, man. I've had shows Like I made it to like this competition to like almost the finals, sold out show. I'm in the back with all the comics, right? And I'm cracking jokes. Think I'm the funniest guy ever. And everybody, some of the comics had never seen me, and they're like, "Oh man, you're so funny! I can't wait to see you." And I got on stage. I had 10 minutes. The first 5 minutes, silence. Nobody. My mom was there. My mom wasn't even fucking laughing. I was like, "Oh my god!" And then I had a moment, and I'll never forget this. I kind of put my head down, and I was just completely honest. And I said, "Fuck. Looks like I'm not advancing to the next round." And everybody started laughing. It was shocking to me. I was like, "What?" I didn't even say a joke. All I said was, "Fuck. I guess I'm not advancing to the next round." But there was so much tension in the room that by relieving the tension, because they felt embarrassed for me, by letting them know that I wasn't embarrassed and that everything was gonna be okay. It was a benign violation. Like, I'm not hurt.
Yeah,
Everything's
okay.
gonna be okay. By letting them know that, and they weren't expecting that, everybody laughed. And then right after that, I had straight laughter to the point where I was like, maybe I will advance, but I didn't. So that's another thing about comedy is fuck, what direction was I going in? I was saying everything's gonna be okay. Um, I said, I guess I'm not advancing. Tension. Yes. One of the dopest things about getting laughter is building up tension. Like, if the more you could take people to their threshold of being offended and being too much, and take them right there to the line, and then go move away, the bigger the laugh. You see what I'm saying? The more people are like, "Whoa," and then you don't push it, that you don't go too far, you're gonna get, the payoff is amazing.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, well, Larry, thank you so much. And do you maybe have some homework exercises that I can do to practice this skill of being funny, and that the listeners maybe can also practice with me?
Yes, I do. So, first of all, because I said it was a sense, one of the ways to get better at comedy is by just studying it. It's just like anything else. You just watch it a lot. It's like learning a language. Sometimes the best way to do it is to just be surrounded by it. So if you have like a radio or a streaming service, just listen to a lot of comedy, because then you'll start picking up the rhythm, the music of it, and you'll be, oh, watch a lot of comedy. Watch, listen as much as you can. That's the best I could do to what exercises that I recommend. The writing exercises, you gotta really look at what I told you about the joke structure. You can find it online, right? And you could play with it. You write down lists of things that you hate, lists of things that you love, lists of things that you're confused about, all these lists, and you just start playing with the joke structure and playing around and how you could build these ideas. Um, Another thing you could do, besides the other things I've told you already, is what was I gonna say? Damn. Oh yeah, think of all the funniest moments in your life. Everything that's happened to you that made your stomach hurt. Think of all of them. And just write those down. And really understand and really think about your life. That's one of the best ways, because there's a lot of moments in your life that are so great. Timing is so big in comedy. Timing is just, that's why it's a sense, like I said, and that's why it's like music. The timing of it. If that's why if someone interrupts the joke, it fucks the timing up. There's a timing. Comedy is all about timing. It's like you have to be right on the money. Boom, the way you say it. When you write a joke, I think you have to get to the funny part within 23 words. So practice writing with 23 words. Now this is the deepest exercise I'm going to give you before we close. Find When you listen and watch all this comedy, find one that resonates with your style, not one that you like. Because I love George Carlin, but I don't think my style is like George Carlin's, right? So it's about finding someone not that so much that you like, but someone that matches your style of humor or sensibility.
Mm-hmm.
Transcribe their comedy, like write it down, and then fill in your words into how they did their comedy. Like change, like have, like match their rhythm and their timing, but interchange the words with what you want to say. It's
Yeah.
a great exercise.
Okay. Well, Larry, thank you so much for all the explanations, insights, and making me slightly more funny than I was. And I'm definitely going to do these exercises. And yeah, thank you for being here, man. It was real fun.
Hell yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. I wish you the most success and happiness and luck. I'm Larry Dorsey Jr., and the name is the same as the social media handle.
Nice. All right.
All right. Good morning.